Brisco and Bradshaw. Bradshaw. That would be the Chickashaw Hall of Famer. Oklahoma's favorite son, Mr. Gerald Brisco. And this is not going well at all. But we got Mr. Len Denton, and we are excited about it. He is the NWA Texas former heavyweight champ, the NWA Pacific heavyweight champ, cauliflower men's award winner, Southern Hall of Famer, and he is the Grappler. And we are glad he's here because he's a Texan and he doesn't like Oklahoma either. Mr. Len Denton, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir, for having me on your show. I appreciate it, JBL, especially to be on a Texan show. I appreciate that, brother.
Wait a minute. Now, Len, I've known you longer than that long-legged Texan guy has there, man. He'll do you wrong there, you know.
Jerry, can I just say, the only reason I said that, okay, I love you like a brother. You know that. I've known you since I was a kid, back when I started out in Texas and Florida wrestling. But I always remember that time in Ocala, Florida. Okay, I don't know if you remember it, but I was like, I think I was 18, 19. I just got started. I was sitting in the dressing room. I had to wrestle you on second in Ocala. Okay, and I had a T-shirt on that said, Oklahoma sucks. Oklahoma sucks, Texas #1. And the boys go, you ain't got a hair in your ass if you don't wear that out there when you wrestle Jerry tonight. I went, are you kidding? And so they kept on. Finally, I got enough guts. I went out there. You crawled in the ring, and then you looked across the ring at me and they announced us. You jumped me, and what you tore that shirt into 100 pieces. You beat.
I remember it had to be Dusty Rhodes that talked you into doing that.
I don't remember who it was, but I know one thing. I remember you, like, after you got through tearing it up, you got me down and put me in some of those damn holes you and your brother knew. And I was going, yeah, give up. And the referee, Sonny Myers, going, no, you don't. Hang in there, kid. You ain't giving up. I ain't.
Yeah, we had some good times back in those days, man.
Wait a minute. That was not a good time. That was a good time for you. It
was a good time. Like I said, I had some good times back in those days. But Len, you know, like you say, man, you were just starting in the business. You know, take us through that path. You know, I know you're from that damn state south of the Red River. You know, that's the only thing good about it. It connects to the Red River there. Yeah. But how did you get started? I've read a lot about you, but I never. Who was the guy that said, Len, you know, come in, and what made you want to start into professional wrestling? Was John Layfield one of your idols as you were growing up? Because
What's that? Well, what got me started, Jerry, was this right here. My friend of my dad's. My dad was in construction. A friend of my dad's wanted to be a wrestler, a big old boy, and he was helping my dad. And Tiger Conway Sr. had a fence company in Houston, right? Right. So wanted some carports and stuff built. Somehow my dad got that job and he met him. And so I went out there on weekends. My dad made me get my ass out of bed and go help him. he says, your buddy there that wants to be a wrestler, he's kind of out of shape, but your son's in pretty good shape. He looked like he'd be a wrestler. Because I was getting ready thinking I'm going to go to college and play baseball and all these kind of stuff, you know. I was running and training every day. And so kind of got me interested in it. So I went and started thinking about it. And so I found out about these lucha guys that were doing wrestling across town. Now, you got to remember, back in these days, I had no idea that was opposition. Okay. I didn't know what that shit meant. And so
you didn't know what opposition was, right?
No, I went over there because, you know, Tiger, he scared the hell out of me. He's so big. I went over to these guys my size, these Mexicans, right? I went over there and he goes, in a week they had me ready for a match. He said, you're ready. I went, what? So I scared the hell out of me. I went back and my dad called Tiger and he goes, where's he been? Oh, he got hot. He goes, tell him to meet me at the Coliseum Sunday afternoon. I'm going to show him what he don't know about wrestling. So I went down there, and he was trying to stretch me, and he was too old and blowed up. He couldn't stretch. So finally, he says, I don't feel comfortable training this kid. I'm not messing with him. So I said, to hell with wrestling. That's what kind of people are these folks, you know? And so I just kind of gave it up. And then my dad seen this ad of all things, the TV Guide. Back then, we always used to have them. And he goes, look, they got an ad on the back page. You guys got a wrestling school across town. So, they got Joe, and he goes, this guy worked as Joe Pizza. I don't know if you ever heard of Joe Pizza. He worked as a German. He was basically a job guy all around, but to me, he impressed the hell out of me. And then he was a friend of Nick Kozak's. Remember Nick Kozak?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Nick, he was refereeing in Houston. Nick was at the time for Paul Bosch. Well, Nick was a good friend of Joe's, and so he had the school and he started the school. Matter of fact, you've heard of Gary Harrington?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we were two of the students. We're the only two that made it out of class. All right. And we trained together there. And finally, Nick got us booked in Amarillo with the Funks because, his brother was promoting towns for the Funks over there in Amarillo at that time. And that's how we got, after we trained with him, we went on over to Amarillo for Terry and Dory. But I lasted about a week. I got fired because I was too small. And they sent me back home. But then luckily, Bill Watts had just taken the territory from Leroy McGurk, and he was trying to get any talent he could find. And so I wrote a letter to Dory Funk Jr. and told him how much I appreciated the chance there in Amarillo. And he called Watts and got me booked over there. And I took off from there and started getting bigger, and everything kept going from there. That's how I got into it.
Wow. That's a lost art now. Guys just don't realize, when we used to want to make a move, we usually wrote a letter to the promoter, and that letter would chain its way to the place that you eventually wanted to go. Yeah. Promoters thought so much of you if you just sat down and you corresponded with them like that, back in those days.
It's funny, what was fun? Like the last show that I had, here's what happened. I went in there and they booked us, and my first show was in TV in Amarillo. And so they looked at me, and there was guys. Abdul the Butcher was working the territory at the time. Art Nelson was the booker. Cyclone Negro, all these big, huge guys. And I weighed about 150 pounds. So they said, they give me.
And how old were you, Len, at that time?
I just turned 18.
Wow.
Okay, so he goes, they said, look, the guy gave my notice. Art Nelson goes, look, I'm gonna give you a week on the road, and so I looked at the booking sheet. Now the guy trained me. This is how dumb I was. The guy trained me, told me, if they tell you when you get out there they want you to referee, you tell them I trained you to be a wrestler. You're a wrestler. You ain't no damn referee. So I went to Art Nelson. He had me refereeing 3 times and wrestling 3 times. He was just trying to make me some money to go home. I said, sir, I just want to tell you. Now you can imagine I'm 18, 180 pounds. Here's Art Nelson right in the middle of TV. Stop him, right? I said, Art, what is it, kid? Hey, I said, I'm not no referee. I just want you to know it. He goes, you take that booking sheet and you do the job, and you take it and wipe your ass and leave right now.
That was hard.
So anyway, I did the towns, but what I was going to tell you was on the way back, my last show was she was up in the mountain in Arizona. Anyway, we made the town. It was, and they had me drive Abdullah there. He laid in the back seat, and we were going to. He said, "Hey, baby," and I'm driving. I'm 18. I remember he tapped me on the shoulder, and he goes like this. He said, hey, baby." He goes, "Look, when you get to Tupancari, there's a big buffet. Make sure you wake me up." So I stopped at the buffet, and we made the town. We're on the way back, and of all things, blow the engine in my car. This is my last show. I just got fired. And it's like, we're limping into town, and the guy, Abdullah, he's looking at me. He goes, man, he's the guy that told me write the letter to Dory. He said, write to Dory and seal it. And if there's any chance, he may get you a booking. And before I got home, after I got my engine fixed and borrowed money from my daddy, really felt like shit going home. My dad, I called home and collect, and he goes, he said, man, get your ass home. You're booked in Louisiana in 2 weeks for Bill Watts. Yeah. He said, Dory Funk Jr. just called here. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, that was a good break. It was a lucky break.
So you took off from Amarillo. You just had your car repaired, and I had to set you back a lot there to get your car. You had to get a new engine put in that car. Then you drove over to Louisiana. Then you really put some miles on, right?
Yeah, that poor car called hell. It didn't see no pain in Amarillo till he got to Louisiana.
Was that when Bill Watts he took over part of the Louisiana too, right? So he expanded his territory. That's why he needed so much extra talent, right?
Right.
Yeah, took over the Leroy McGurk's part, and when he did that, he had all down south and all those Louisiana towns, Mississippi, Oklahoma, part of Texas, and all that stuff, right? So he was taking talent, I mean, any kind of talent, trying to make TV shows and keep the dates booked, you know.
And was he running more than one crew, or was he running just one crew? Just had all these
one crew. Sometimes he run 2 towns a night, but that was usually on Saturday or Sunday. But then he was running just one crew, one TV show. But we went to all those towns, man. It was just a rat race, man. But look, you know, he was using talent from everywhere. They probably couldn't get a job a lot of them other places like me. And you know, but they developed into stars down the road, you know.
And the problem with
Len,
that,
Len, I remember you as a real astute student too. In the ring, you were always up to learning. But what a group of talent you had down in Louisiana to learn from, and all those guys were real giving at that time too, and trying to teach a young guy the business there. That had to be a real plus for you as you moved on in your business.
Oh, Nick, no, it was. A lot of guys took you under their arm. I mean, some guy, well, I'll tell you one guy that made you pay your dues, though, coming into the territory was a guy named Swede Hansen. Remember Swede?
Oh, Big Swede, yeah.
Oh, he used to beat the hell out of us. But hey, you know what? If you got past Swede and you survived, then you were accepted in the business, you know, because he would give us hell. And then Killer Carl Cox, he was unbelievable too. Killer Herbie was something else. But they had some, you're right, Jerry. They had some unbelievable talent there. It was great guys.
I loved old Herbie, old Killer Cox, man. He was one of my mentors early on in my life, as Swede was. When I first got into business, I was fortunate, got a trip down to Australia, and Rip and Swede were down there. And they're the ones that ended up getting me booked in Carolinas and get me that big break I had in Carolina. If it hadn't been for them, I don't know where I would have ended up. But they both took a liking to me down in Australia, and along with Killer. And man, they'd sit there. If they liked you, they would share the business with you inside and out. And that's what I remember about Swede.
Yeah, one time I was working in Florida. This is after I'd left Louisiana, and I was still a greenhorn, you know. And Louis Tillette was the booker, right? And he had brought a guy in from Guatemala, which is a friend of his, and the guy was about 30 years old. Now I was only 19, right? So I'm scared of my damn shadow. I'm scared of everything, especially around all these guys. And so he booked me with this guy, and this guy could not speak a word English. And so I'm working with him, and he's working the right-hand side like you do over there and all kinds of bullshit. But I'm just trying to go with it. It's Louis' guy, and I'm trying to keep a job. Every night, Jerry, for a week straight, he busted my nose or my mouth. Right? And so we're in Fort Lauderdale, I'll never forget. And I rode to the show with Herbie, with Killer, and with Jardine, right? And so Don Jardine and Killer Cox. And so I go out there to work with this guy, and I didn't realize they'd been watching this, but apparently everybody had been watching this. And I go out there, and the guy got me he had me, you know, where they put their feet against your side, one against your head, and you raise up and try to pin him, and he kicks, and you take the bump back. Well, he was doing it, but from the right side. But I went ahead and just work it, try to catch his tights. Anyway, I was just checking. The first time I went down, boom, he caught me with a heel right in the nose and right in the mouth. Bam! I said, oh, shit, knocked the hell out of me. So I go, all right. So I went up the second time. This time I jumped down real quick on purpose. And I could see he purposely tried to kick me in the face. Sunday morning, and I don't know what just come over me. I was 18, and I've had enough. I yanked my damn arm loose like nobody was even holding it. And I jumped up and looked at him. We locked up. And when he backed in the ropes, I said, this is the ball I got. I gave him everything I had and then knocked his ass right out. Boom, he dropped face forward on the mat. And Sonny Myers, then I was scared shitless. I didn't know what to do. I'm looking at the guy, and I get a whole armbar on him. And Sonny Myers goes, he's the referee. Sonny goes, kick the shit out of him, kid. What are you doing? And they've been watching this. So when the match, finally I went back to the guy come around, we worked the match. I put the guy over. We get through the match. We go to the back. And when I came in the dressing room, Cox grabbed me by the throat and slammed me against the lockers. He said, if I ever see you take shit off a guy like that again, you'll never dress with us again or ride with us. You understand me? And I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But they've been watching this the whole time to see if I was going to finally step up. Thank God I did. But I was scared to death, you know?
Yeah, that's how Old Killer was. That's how the business really was at that time. Those old timers, you know, they wouldn't offer a lot until they thought you really needed, and you proved to them that you would fight back, and that's what, when you fought back, you know, Killer's head, he probably smiled like crazy at that time. When you come in, he probably couldn't wait to tell you what good job, kid. You know.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, they didn't want no cowards in our business because we had to protect this business, because back then it wasn't showbiz, and we had to protect it to make a living. And if you didn't, your ass didn't stay.
Right. Especially down in Florida, or with Watts in Louisiana, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you remember the old rule here in Florida, you know, you get in all the street fights you want to, but if you get beat, just get in your car and head north, get out of here.
I'll tell you one, Jerry. I was and this is back after I got my break, come back, and you know, everything was going good. I'm in Louisiana. I got the North American heavyweight title. I got the Mississippi heavyweight title, and I got 1/2 the Louisiana tag titles. So me and Dick Murdoch, we've been running every night, 2 Texas boys getting drunk every night, drinking all that beer. And so Watts hears all these stories, and he goes, hey, so he has a meeting at TV, and he goes, just like this, he goes, hey, I want to say one thing right now before we start. He goes, Len Denton, he goes, you got the heavyweight title, the Mississippi title, all this shit. You got all the belts. He goes, you're running with that redneck Murdoch. If you go out in one of them honky tonks, you get your ass whooped. Don't come back to work because you fired. So he goes, and everybody starts, the guys laugh after he walks off. And so Murdoch, I look at Dickie, go, hey, Dickie. I said, I wear a hood. Fuck, nobody know who I am anyway. He goes, I'll stooge you off, you son of a
And Murdoch would, man. Well, Murdoch and Layfield are really, really tight friends. Murdoch taught Layfield a few of the tricks of the road, like never throw up in Oklahoma. Always go across the Red River and make sure you do it in Texas.
Yeah, no.
Well, man, that's the greatest story ever. You know, Dick, I tagged with Dick, you know, and I idolized him. You know, I love Dick Murdoch. And I picked him up one time. He never let me drive. So I would always have to sit in the passenger side, and he would be sitting there singing Take Me Drunk, I'm Home, a song that he and Dusty Rhodes wrote together. It's the worst thing you ever heard. And I got to hand him Coors Lights. And he's throwing about every third one he's throwing out the window. And I realized I got to hand it the mouth toward him. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He wouldn't let me talk. No, I didn't care. I'm traveling with Dick Murdoch. So one morning he picks me up. I'm lived in a bad place in Garland, Texas with Bobby Duncombe Jr. and in a bad area. And Dick picks me up and he goes, you're driving, kid. And I'd never seen Dick hungover. I'd never seen him sail. He looked terrible. So we're driving up to Lawton or Fort Sill, somewhere up in Oklahoma. And I said, Dick, you want me to pull over? No, kid, keep driving. So I tried a little further. I said, Dick, you want me to pull over? And he said, kid, keep driving. So we get up to approaching the Red River. And I said, Dick, are you sure you don't want me to pull over? He goes, keep driving. As soon as we crossed the Red River, he said, pull over, kid. And he got out and threw up all over Oklahoma. And he got back in and he told me, he said, don't ever throw up in Texas, kid. It was the greatest thing ever.
Hey, you know what he did with me one time? I swear, I never laughed so hard. I'm working with him in Biloxi, Mississippi, right? And so he was sitting in the dressing room. You know, we never go, hey, y'all, we got to finish. We don't say, what do you don't even say, what do you want to do, this high spot, that high spot? Are you kidding, Murdoch? We said, get out of here. I ain't calling high spots in here. And so I go by and said, Dick, is anything different you want to do? No, it's shit. I don't want to do, you know what? I don't want to do nothing. I go, what? He goes, I don't want to do nothing. I don't feel like working. I'm laughing, right? So he got a little bit further and he goes, hey, I don't even know the finish yet. So I'm going, what are we doing? He goes, I don't know. I don't want to do nothing out there. So the bell rings. He's still saying, he said, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. He goes, I'm going to let the fans call the match. Hell with this. I'm tired of burnout. He goes, I'm going to let the fans call the match. And brother, we went out there and he said, get some heat on me. I got some heat on him. He's trying to come back and he grabbed me by the mask. He's got his fist up. And he goes, what do you want to see me do? What do you want me doing? the guy says, punch him. So he punched him. He's pointed at the crowd, doing it like a circle. But he said, the guy said, backdrop him. So he backdrops me. He goes, slam him, slam him. And some guy behind him goes, drop kick him. And Murdoch stops, turns around and said, drop kick, you dumb bastard. Call something else. I ain't drop kick. I laughed so hard, I swear. I dropped.
Murdoch could get more heat by doing nothing than anybody ever seen in the ring.
Oh, I know, brother. He's unbelievable. He gets something out of nothing. You're right.
Him and Killer Carl Cox as a tag team. We had Cox and Murdoch down here as a tag team for a while. Jack and I used to work with them. It was probably the best time in our business because we didn't have to do anything, just get heat, with those guys, just stand there and listen to them.
Yeah,
I know when he would do the Three Stooges, whoop, 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 and he'd spin around in a circle on the mat.
Yeah. With him, and he'd go like this. I kick him. He'd be doing Three Stooges again. He'd say, kick me again. As he's going around, kick him, he'd go the other way.
Len, every night, he'd stand there in his University of Texas jacket, and he wouldn't even get in the ring. I'd get in the ring. The referee do the instructions or whatever they're doing. And Dick, I turn around and Dick say, go ahead and start the match, kid. When it turns to shit, tag me in. I'll straighten it out. Every single night. Every night he said that.
Murdoch's got to be the only guy in the business that claimed he went to West Texas University, never enrolled in one single class.
He played in the alumni game, Jerry.
Yeah, he played an alumni game and started for 4 years for him, never enrolled.
That's right. He never went to one day of school there.
That's great. Hey, I was in Japan with him. We're in Tokyo, and it's me and Bob Orton Jr. and Dickie and the six man against Inoki and a couple of the other Fujinami and somebody else. Anyway, so of course they step out just as the bell rings. They both step out and go, "Yes, you're starting, kid." I go, first tour in Japan. I've never been there. And so here's Inoki looking at me, right? And so I circled. I go, well, hell, he's supposed to be a wrestler. I picked him up, was going to take him down. Brother, when I picked him up, took him down, started riding him, the ring filled up. They thought I was shooting with him, the other guy. We got in a big fight, finally rolled on the floor. Murdoch goes, what the shit are you doing, kid? You just broke him out in a shoot in here, you idiot. I go, man, I'll never take him off his feet. That's a damn superstar.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you were down here in Florida for a while, and I remember you were so young, but you really made an impression on Eddie Graham. Eddie Graham really liked you. I think he send you up to Atlanta, Georgia after you left here?
Yes, he did. Yeah, sure did.
And you worked with Ole and the group up there. What did you think of that group when you moved up there?
Well, I learned a lot. There's a lot of stars in Atlanta too, and then from Atlanta, I stayed at the world's famous Falcons Rest in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, world famous.
Yeah, I met there that I learned a ton off of, and I think when the guys say this is the truth, when the guys say that guy's a gentleman and a scholar, this guy sincerely was Ivan Koloff. And I learned a ton from him, and he was there. I learned a lot from him when I was in Atlanta, and then I went from there to Mid-Atlantic after that.
Yeah. What was it, Mid-Atlantic, that you started really getting elevated a little bit at that time, getting shoved up toward that? You'd gained so much weight, you'd gone from 185 up to like 230, 240, didn't you?
Yeah, and then what happened was I was at the point where I'd been about 4 years. I go, man, I ain't made it. I got a break on top. I decided that I was going to come back home because my dad had a pretty good construction company going. And I said, I'm going to give it one more try here. And then if I don't get a break, I'm going to roll. And I'd been overseas a couple times and everything, and just couldn't get a break. And so I went with, we were in Norfolk, Virginia the night before, and we were staying at the hotel there. And I went to the gym, and I was coming down the hall, and remember Gene Lewis?
Yeah.
Gene Lewis had the door open to his room, and he was on the phone. As I walked by, and he goes, Lenny, hold on. This guy wants to talk to you on the phone. And it was Buck Robley. And Buck Robley was booking. I'd never met Buck at the time, but he was booking for Watts in Louisiana. And he said, I need a top heel. I need a guy who wears a mask. I heard you wear a mask. And I'd been doing some stuff in Atlanta where they called me the Challenger with a mask on. Just doing stuff. And I said, yeah. He said, And he said, he goes, I need a guy. He said, do you think you can handle the job? I said, hell yeah, I can handle the job. He goes, okay. So I got, he said, I'm gonna bring you in 2 weeks. I'll call Ole or whoever was booking at the time. I forget who was booking there then. I think it might have been Ole. But then he goes, he asked me what name you want to use. Now, Don Cornoodle and me was
Don
riding.
Noodle, yeah.
Yeah, me and Cornoodle were riding down the road 2 nights before, and he for some reason coming back to Norfolk, he goes, you know what? He goes, if I ever wrestle, I like to wrestle sometime with a mask. And he said, I'll wear a mask and call myself the Grappler. Because, he was a Greco-Roman wrestler. Because that means Greek, like some kind of wrestling thing. And that stuck in my head. And when Buck asked me, what do you call yourself under the mask? I went, the Grappler. That's exactly how I got that name.
Did you tell Cornoodle you were going as the Grappler?
Oh yeah, Don wanted residuals and shit. He was
yeah, of course he did. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Every time I'd see him, he'd jump on me.
So when you went down to watch it, that territory had started changing from the first time you were down there. They were really drawing some money at the second time you went, right?
Yeah, that's when they had the Freebirds and all that in the hot and the Junkyard Dog.
Yeah.
And so I went down there and they started doing that angle with the boot, where they got me. I hurt my leg and I came back a few weeks later with that orthopedic boot, and they got that in and all that stuff. And yeah, it was
that loaded boot. How did that come about? Tell us that, because that's what you were really a hill down there with that loaded boot.
Well, it was, you remember Dr. X, don't you?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, he had done that gimmick years before for McGirt in Oklahoma, in his territory. But so Watts had that in his mind. So Watts said, he seen me wrestle and all. And I was there for 2 weeks. And then Watts flew in because he had his own private plane, right? He flew into Shreveport on a Friday night just to watch me wrestle Orndorff. And the reason I know that is Paul snuck across, which he could have got fired over it. But he told me, hey, brother, Bill's here. And he told me he came here just to watch our match. He's going to make a decision where he's going to put the belt on you or give you your notice. So you better kick ass tonight. And I said, okay, Paul. He said, I want to see if he can handle it. And so he told me and Paul to go to 30 minutes through in the semi, right? And so I said, Paul, just let me call it. If I go down, it'll be my fault. And so Watts seen the match and he liked it. He called me the next day, said, hey, I want to shoot an angle. We hurt your leg. And we come back with that loaded boot, an orthopedic boot. And and he laid out the angle. And he asked me to come up for the finish, how to do the hurt my leg deal, but we worked it out, and that's how I got started.
You were Len Denton. You weren't the Grappler at that time, were you?
I was the Grappler, but I was just a regular guy. I didn't have a horse boot. I just wrestled. I was the greatest wrestler in wrestling, type guy, supposedly. Yeah.
Bill Watts was one of the biggest. He was one of the biggest kayfabe promoters, right? I mean, you guys. So for Orndorff to come across, that was a big deal.
He could have got fired. He would have got his ass fired if they caught him. Even though Orndorff was, he liked him a lot, he wouldn't have took that. He would have fired him. So he put a lot on the line. Well, me and Paul were friends, but he took a lot of chances coming across there. But he knew it was my job on the line, or he wouldn't have done it,
And what Watts had for those watching was separate dressing rooms, and the baby faces and heels never crossed. Didn't go out together, didn't ride together, nothing. It was a big deal.
Oh shoot, no, man. No, that was an instant firing job. They caught you doing that, I mean, we used to do stuff we shouldn't have done, but we couldn't let him catch us. And if someone seen us that might tell him, we knew we had enough clout to threaten him, we'd kill them if they told him.
Did Bill ever fine you?
Huh? Oh,
Did you ever get fined?
Yeah, he fined me. Bill was fining me $50 for laughing one time.
What, in the ring or in the dressing room?
Huh?
In the ring or in the dressing room?
I was in the dressing room and he was having some bad problem, there. And I was sitting in the dressing room getting my shit on. And I'm talking to the boys, and somebody said a joke, and he just walked in about the time the guy said the punchline. I went, ha, ha, ha. He goes, that's $50, asshole. And I thought it was, and it was out of my check when I got my check Tuesday. Well, it's 50 for laughing.
Was Is there a rule against laughing?
Well, I guess there was then. He made his own rules. There wasn't much I could say about it. He didn't want to pay.
Gasoline must have went up for his private jet that day.
Huh?
I said gasoline went up for his private jet that day.
You're right.
This is just amazing to me. Did you ever question it? Like, you really find me for laughing?
I did. What he said, he was sitting like, okay, we're at TV doing interviews on, I think it was on Tuesday morning, Jeff. Wednesday morning. So we had to come in. We worked Shreveport. Baton Rouge on Tuesday night. You have to drive and stay in Shreveport, which is 200 miles that night after the matches. So we get in at like 1 in the morning. You got to be at TV at 7 o'clock to do 4 hours of promos and drive to Jackson, Mississippi, 200 miles away to work Wednesday night. And so I was at the TV, we're doing the interviews, and the heel sat on one side of the studio and the bay face on the other side. You couldn't even talk during the promos, with the TV there. And so I got my check and I look and he's across there and sitting at the table with Bayface. He goes, $50 bill. He goes, shut the fuck up, do the promos. That's as far as it went. I didn't see him for another week.
Were you there with Junkyard Dog when he was still hot in that territory?
Oh yeah, brother, I was. He was on fire. Yeah, you go to New Orleans, man, and they be going, who that say gonna beat that dog? Who that? I was working with him in New Orleans. Oh, and so excuse me. And they go, though in New Orleans is a pretty rough crowd. And so they had a double door, went out, 2 double doors, and then out to where the crowd is. And then you go along ringside, you get there, and they take 2 regular cops, not security, regular cops, would walk you to the ring, and then they come back. So this particular night, Jerry, I came down with this one cop. He decided to stay at ringside to see how the match started for some reason. I found out about this later. But so I went in there and got in the ring, and here comes Dog, and they're playing his music, and all the people going, who they say gonna beat that dog? And they're dancing, and he's got that collar and that chain. And so I told Jack Howell, the referee, I said, slide out. I said, tell Dog when he rolls in, I'm going to get this started right and I get on him with that chain. He goes, okay. So he slides out. I see Dog wink at me before he rolls in, right? As he comes in, I take that chain. I'm beating that shit out of it, and I'm choking him. And I look up in a minute, and I see all the crowd, in the arena, at the kind of in the middle ways up. You can see them all diving under their chairs. And so I thought, oh, man, hell, a fight broke out. Like when a fight breaks out in the crowd, you might as well stop doing high spots and sit down until everybody stands back up. And so I just took the chain and got rid of it. I got an arm bar or something. I was sitting there waiting for the crowd to sit back down. They all sat back down. We continued the match. Bam, bam, bam. Finished the match. Had a good match. I went to the back, and the police officer asked me, said, come here. He goes, you need to go over and thank that fellow right over there, that other police officer. I said, why? He goes, he just saved your life. So what are you talking about? He said, he stood at ringside. He usually comes to the back. He said, when all those people were diving under chairs? He said, a guy at ringside stood up with a 357 Magnum, and he grabbed his wrist, and the other guy helped him. They took it away from him. He was fixing to blow your ass away. Wow. I said, you're kidding me. I didn't know he was even behind me. I was beating Dog's ass up in the field. Wow. That's how New Orleans was with Dog out there.
And Dog was like that everywhere, right?
Everywhere. You had to watch it. They tear your vehicle up. I mean, I went in one time into I bought me a Silverado pickup, man, Texas, brother. I had mags on it, the whole shit. I was making money. I pull into Lake Charles, and there's police officers there too, and they go, "How you doing, Grappler?" I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "How you like that new Chevy?" He go, "Get your ass in that truck and follow us." I went, "What?" They made me follow them. I drove them around to the jailhouse, and they said, "Park your truck here. We'll take you back. You come back, this truck will be beat all over." Because you can't park something like that. That's the way it was, with Dog, them fans. It's crazy.
So how long did your gig last there? And is that when you decided you're going out west? I mean, that's a big jump from Louisiana out to Portland.
let's see. I went from Louisiana. We ended up going. I forget a couple of other territories. I worked in Memphis some, and then I went back to Louisiana, and they ended up tagging me and Tony up as the Grapplers, and we made a couple-year run around the territories, different places.
Tony Alice,
Tony Anthony.
Anthony, okay.
Yeah, they made me and him the Grapplers tag team.
Yeah, you were Dirty White Boys for a while, right?
Well, we were the Dirty White. We were first the Grapplers, and then we left Memphis. We came back, went and worked in San Antonio for Joe Blanchard and them for a year or so as the Grapplers. Then we came back into Memphis as the Dirty White Boys, different tag team.
Yeah.
And then we ended up splitting up from there, and I went back to Dallas and for Fritz and worked as the Grappler for about a year. And then after that's where I left and went to the Northwest from there.
Now, when you went back to Dallas there, I just jump back to Memphis there. Is that when you first hooked up with Jimmy Cornette? Because I know you and Jimmy were tied for a while.
Yeah, well, Jim Cornette was manager of me and Tony. It's weird. Memphis is weird. We had Jim Cornette and Jimmy Hart. We had two managers at the same time on TV. I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway, so they were both our managers, and then when we came back, just Jimmy Hart was our manager as the Dirty White Boys. But then we left. I went back to Dallas and worked Dallas for about a year, and then.
Is this a time when the Von Erich kids were so hot, or was it before?
Well, I wasn't there when they were on fire, but that's some of the time they were. But time I was there is when that one kid. I forget his name, the last one that killed himself. Mike Von Erich. Remember Mike Von Erich?
Chris or Mike?
I think it was Mike, yeah. I had to work with Mike, Jerry. This is no kidding. I'm in the dressing room at the Sportatorium in Dallas, right? And Bronco Lewis calls me in the room. He said, "You're working with Mike." And Mike's sitting there and he's putting his shit on, right? Lacing his boots. And he said, "You're working with him tonight." Now, this is national TV, about 10 minutes or so. And I said, "Let me guess, I used a claw on him, right?" He goes, "Just do the job, dude." I said, "Okay." So he says, "Okay." So as I'm talking to him, he goes to pull his lace up, and he falls backwards off the chair, off the bench, lacing his boots. Twice while I was sitting there. That's how fucked up. Now I got to go to work with him. And I said, "Hey, Bronco, what the fuck?" He goes, "Just go do it. Get it done." So I went out there and I get it and do not let go till I tell you. Okay. So all I did was let him hold on a little bit. I got some heat on him and went home, but it was like, God, you never know what you're walking into. Like I went in there and I'm working, and Brody's a booker there, right, Frank? And Frank, I love Frank. We always got along good, but he was stiffer than shit, But Frank goes, comes to me, he goes, "Hey, Lenny," he goes, "Kid, look, you've been here about a year." He said, "I think I can get, they're going to be wanting me to give you your notice pretty soon." So he said, "You're working with Kevin tonight." He goes, I said, "Okay, I know the call, right?" Okay. He goes, "But," he said, "if you get, they want you to get juice." I go, "Okay." He goes, "Well," he said, "if you get it right, maybe I can get you a couple extra weeks." I said, "Okay." So, brother, I went to the bone, dude. And I'm in the shower after it's over, and I can't get the bastard to quit. I want to go to the bar. I don't want to get soda. I want to get to drinking. And I got ice, and I'm sitting in the shower, and all of a sudden the curtain opens up, and it's Frank. He goes, "Good job, kid. I got you 12 more weeks. All right." I was happy.
Wow. It was Black Bart was with Kerry Von Erich, and somehow Kerry's got the claw on him, and Bart's gonna juice, and Bart ends up cutting Kerry is so erratic, he ended up cutting his own hand, Kerry's hand, cut his head, and everything got cut up.
Holy shit! Bart, hey, Bart very well. He's something, man. I love him.
He's the best.
He is. Oh my God! I took him. We're coming back on a road trip. When I was over in Charlotte territory, right? And so he's drinking, and he's drinking. Right? We drink beer every time, and we're hauling ass. And so he gets about 2 or 3 beers. And he goes, "Man," he pull over, "Man, he said, I got something wrong with my stomach." I said, what do you mean something wrong with your stomach? Man, I got a shit, man. I said, brother, I ain't got time to stop. We got to make closing time, dude. You know, I pulled the Murdoch shit on him, right? And and I tell him, I ain't gonna stop. You don't pull over, I'm gonna shit right in the back of this truck or right in this car. And so finally I pull over and there's a bunch of canes growing up all this ditch, and he's hanging over the fence with his big old white ass sticking out, leaning back. Took one of them canes, Barry, but I wore his fat ass out. He still talks about that.
I used to carry a cowbell, and Bart, every time I'd walk in, they'd tell me Bart would hear the cowbell coming in the sportatorium, and Bart would go, I hate when I hear that cowbell because I know that long, tall drinker shits with it. How about me?
Hey, you know what he did one time? We were working in Sandy Scott came. This is when we were just both job boys. And Sandy Scott came in. We're in Columbia, South Carolina. I'll never forget it. And after the match, we're sitting there, and Sandy Scott was promoting that show. He comes in and says, hey, look, guys. He's asked me and him, he goes, we got a Victor the Bear is going to be putting on a thing at the mall tomorrow at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. It's an extra $50. Any one of you guys want to wrestle the bear? and Bart goes, I got an update. I said, are you looking crazy? Have you ever wrestled a bear? He goes, no, it's got to be. I said, brother, you're going to wish you hadn't done that. When I seen him the next day, he was bruised up all over. That bear, I know. I wouldn't do that, man. Bear's too strong for me.
Bart was the best. Get his big trash can and sit in the corner and spit in his trash can, pushing up his glasses with a finger.
Yeah. You know what he did one time? He had a trailer when he was over working for Watts. He was staying over across the river and had a house trailer, right? A regular trailer home. And we were all had apartments up in Baton Rouge in the town, but 5 mile difference, right? And so I was in Jackson, Mississippi, and Andre flew in. And Andre always, we were friends. And I knew when he come in, he wanted me to ride with me because I had a Lincoln, and he liked to drink with me and Murdoch and all that shit. And so he's standing across there, and they got one of those big old roll-up doors, you know, because it's kayfabe. He's on one side and the heel's on the other. Well, I see him over there, and I'm on the semi with Dog, and he's working with somebody in the main, and he goes, boss man, you know, like that. And I go, hey, brother, hey, tonight he's going to drink, right? I go, oh, yeah, and I'm hungover. Brother, I didn't want to drown. I was so hungover. I was trying to get away from him. And so as soon as the match was over, I went to a shower, got my shit, and took off because he was riding with somebody else. He's wanting to meet me. I took off, went across the river. I didn't even go to my apartment. Went across the river and knocked on Bart's door and said, Bart, can I stay in your spare bedroom, brother? And he goes, he says, oh, yeah. He says, no problem. So I don't know who stooged me off or how he found me, but I'm telling you, Andre couldn't even, he got inside the trailer. He couldn't walk inside through the door thing. But I woke up, I'm in my underwear. He grabbed the mattress and flipped me in the mattress upside down. I jumped up and scared that. He chopped me back across. I said, let me, hold on. Brother, you talk about punish me. And they had after hours clubs there. I don't even remember. He was holding the beer up, pouring it down me, man. Oh.
You had mentioned Gene Lewis earlier in your career. That was Gene the one that helped you get out to Oregon when you finally made that move?
No, you know, I was working Dallas territory, and when I was working in Florida, one time I came in there, excuse me, and they gave me a pretty good break as the grappler. I came back as the grappler along the way. Me and Rip Oliver, remember Rip Oliver?
Yeah.
Rip was running it for Don Owens, and he'd been up in the Northwest for a long time. Me and him was partners for a while in Florida, tag partners. Well, me and Rip hit it off, good friends, and Rip was up there, and he got hired by Vince to come to WWE. And so he recommended, because I'd been booking for Harvey for a year, and he said, hey, he said, go ahead and I think Lenny can do a hell of a job for you. No. And so Geigo recommended me, Harley and Rip Oliver. That's how it all started. Because Don was looking for somebody to take his spot, and they recommended me for it. and all, and some of the other guys, Cuban Assassin, Joey Jackson, a bunch of guys stood up for me. That's how that happened.
Cool. That was a heck of a place to work too, wasn't it? I mean, it's a trip. What is different from Louisiana, where you had those duration trips, those easy trips up in Oregon. Huh?
Oh yeah, you're home every night, and yeah, it's good. And Don was a good payoff guy. I love Don Owens. You know, he was a good payoff guy.
Yeah, tell us some of those stories about Elton Owens and those shoot matches that you guys would have.
When I went to there, Elton had already died, so I never got to meet Elton. He'd already passed away when I came in. Huh. But I heard, I mean, all the guys told me all the stories, how they get the guys to shoot during the match, and they're working it, but they're doing amateur style, and he pay them extra money. And then the one thing they tell me, he always smoked that cigar, you know, and he would go back there and he'd take a puff of it and leave it sitting on the ledge of the door. And when he would, Tim Brooks and some of them guys would take it straight up their ass, put it back up there. He comes back, start smoking in front of the boys. Guys are criminals, dude. They'll do anything. You know that. They'll do anything for a laugh, dude.
Killer Jim Brooks was Dick Murdoch's cousin. And Murdoch used to always come to the dressing room every time there's new people. And he goes, Killer had sex with our neighbor's handicapped chickens. And Killer would always say, those chickens weren't handicapped. That Killer was great. I love Killer.
Oh, yeah. He used to always get me to do this. He'd go, Lenny, ask me that whenever the guys get here. And we'd be sitting there and the guys would come in the dressing room and go, hey, Killer. I said, what would you do, Killer, if you won $1 million? He goes, well, hell, that's easy. I'd wrestle till I spend it all.
That's great. You were up there with Piper. Was Piper there when you first got up there?
No, he wasn't there, but he was in WWE. But then he came back, and we actually co-booked it for about a year after, because I got fired. I pissed Don off. Then he brought Rod in. Let me tell you how this went down. Okay, so I'm booking the place, and so I've been there about 6 weeks. Every time, okay, he's one of those guys. Oh, here's that big loudmouth Texan. Here comes that. I wouldn't be a loudmouth JBL. I promise you.
Okay. That's right. You hear that, Jerry? You hear that?
I hear it. I believe that too. Loudmouth Texans.
Every time you get paid, Don's in the room and he pays. He tells the guys, here's that big famous booker came from over in Kansas City and all over the country, this Texas loudmouth. How come you can't sell this place out, boy? How come you can't sell out Portland? Everybody talk about how good you are. And I heard this shit for like 6 weeks straight. Finally, I had enough of it. I said, I went like this. I went, Don, let me tell you something. You let me go on TV, you give me 6 weeks, let me do whatever I want to. And don't have your son stop me or you stop my angles. And if I don't sell this son of a bitch out, you don't owe me a penny, and I'll go back to Texas where I belong anyway. He stood up, shook my hand in front of all the boys. He couldn't wait. So I shook his hand, and I started thinking, man, I might have talked my ass into something I can't get out of here. But I did it, and thank the Lord. What happened, we sold it out, and it turned away 600 people. And that's the only mailman. Don Owens, the only promoter I ever seen get mad when the place sold out. He was pissed.
So what was the story? What was the storyline you did that sold it out?
They have a match there called a coal miner's glove match. And so I had to load a boot on fire. And so I'm in a cage and I got the coal miner's boot on one pole and the boot off me on the other pole. And we go for it. Whoever gets it, that was the main event. I can't remember the rest of the card. We had everything juiced up, dude. I was trying to keep my job.
You didn't stack the card, did you?
Just a little. I had bitches.
Every gimmick in the business, you just named off there in that one match, man.
But Don goes, you know what? You killed my house. There's 600 people that won't come back. I go, Don, you should have given my half price ticket, you dumbass. Anyway, so when it was over, I got a weekly guarantee, $800 a week. Well, he paid me $800. Well, the house is $23,000. He usually does 12. I said, Don, you owe me another grand, dude. He goes, I don't know you shit. You got your guarantee. I said, Don, the place, so you don't like it? Leave it here. You ain't get no more money. Get your ass out of here. That's all you get. He meant it. I said, Don, I'll tell you what, I'll get my money back. You watch. And so now I'm still the booker. So comes along in about a month, and they want us to do an angle with Fujinami. He come in from Japan. He's going to beat me for the North American title. I fly to Japan, work 2 weeks, beat him for the title over there. So we have a running thing with our office and all this. That was their idea they came up with. I said, okay, Don went for it. So here's the deal. When I went over to Japan to do my 3 weeks, okay, I remembered, back then you're the booker, they pay your phone bill. And we have a regular landline, right? I said, oh, I call collect home my old lady 3 times a day. $1,200, dude.
That's a lot of minutes. $1,200 was a lot of minutes back in those days.
Hey, and Don always got pissed. He called me to a meeting in downtown. When I walked in the door, I seen Piper sitting there, and he's waving his phone bill at me. That Don was. He said, "You think you're a smart ass, huh?" I told you I'd get my fucking money back, didn't I? He said, well, I just want you to know your ass is fired. So I started to get up, and he goes, no, stay here. I'll buy you dinner. I go, what guy buys your dinner after he fires you, right? So I go, okay. So I sit there, and then Roddy, he goes, well, he started going like this. You know who's the new boss here, don't you know? He goes, Roddy Piper. He said, first of all, Roddy Piper's an actor, and you're not. Just Don tell me that. He's a better worker than you, and anyway, he's a better talker than you. He's a better. I said, you know what? I don't need to listen to this bunch of shit. I said, fine, that's great. You're right. And he goes, but Piper stops the whole meeting. He goes, hold on a minute. Stop everything, you guys. He goes, Don, listen, you're right. I got a lot. I want to be the booker for you, and I want to help you this territory. He said, but I got a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of movies, a lot of shit going on. Plus, I'm still under contract with Vince. He goes, but I'll do it. But Don, I need to have an assistant, and I like to hire Len Denton to be my assistant. Same pay, same thing. We just went back to work.
That's great.
Yeah.
You were mentioning Rip Oliver and the Cuban Assassin, 2 Tampa boys there. Did you? Is that where you made the acquaintance here in Tampa with those two guys, or out in Oregon?
I met Dave, a Cuban Assassin, when he was working opposition against Eddie Graham.
Right.
We were both like 18, 19. I met him then, and then picked up with him along the road, different places. And then Rip Oliver, I believe I met him in Tampa too. Yeah. Briefly, and then I seen him on the road too, like that. Yeah, both guys. You're right, Jerry.
Yeah, good guys and good solid workers too. That's the thing about Oregon. You guys had really good solid workers up there. Now, was you around any when that Dutch Savage was up there? I mean, Dutch was I didn't know Dutch very well, but everything I ever heard about the guy was just first class.
Yeah, he was already retired, but he came back and does some commentary and stuff like that. He would come and, if he found something he thought would help me for us a job, he'd mention it. But he never worked any at the time. He was always good with me. He was straight up. He was never a headache or no problems,
Did you ever work with my brother while he was champion?
Yes, I did. Hey, JB, I'll check this out. He don't remember this one. Of course you don't, Jerry. Okay, we're a TV station. This is when Eddie Graham was still alive. Jerry and Jack are tagging on TV in that little building, right? Okay, so we're fixing to go out, and it's all crowded in the dressing room. And I think it was me and Bubba Douglas, of course, right? Oh yeah, I gotta tell you that. Me and Bubba, and so or somebody, and he goes, Jerry keeps going like this to me behind Jack's back. Take him down, because Jack said, I ain't taking him. He goes, take him down. You're fired. Well, Jerry, no, he goes, take him down, you asshole. So I get in the ring and I see Jerry looking over his shoulder. And I took Jack down, brother. I don't even know what he did to me. He had me screaming. He had both legs. And Sonny Myers was a referee of that one too. And I tried to get up, and Sonny goes, no, you don't, kid. Stay in there. I go, no. He finally let me get to the ropes. I look over, Jerry's laughing his ass off. But and another one was, we were in What's that town? Starts with a T. Town that runs North Florida. In
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee. We're in Tallahassee, and it was me and Bubba Douglas. I'll never forget it. We go out there against him and Jerry, and it's a house show, and we're wrestling. They're doing all this stuff, and we don't get anything, right? And so finally, we come back to the dressing room after the fall, and I'm sitting there and I'm taking my stuff off, and Bubba is too. And Bubba, he's all sweating. Jack and Jerry come in the dressing room, and Bubba goes, "Hey Jack, hey Jerry, hey Jack, hey Jerry, man, what happened to my comeback? What happened to my comeback?" And Jerry went, "You got to come back." He goes, "No, I didn't." He goes, "Yeah, you did. You had to come back to the dressing room."
I love no Bubba. Bubba, what a good guy. Bubba, the unofficial mayor of Lakeland, Florida.
No kidding. I love him too. He's a good guy.
Jerry, do you not feel bad about any of this?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's part of growing up in the business, John.
Believe me, I made some boys pay their dues too.
Yeah, Bradshaw did just by being in the ring with them.
Stop it. Len, one time, me and Jerry were overseas, and I wake up in the morning, and my knuckles are all busted up, and my eyes got scrapes on it. And I thought, oh my God, I got into a fight last night. I don't remember what happened. I'm so embarrassed. I get on the bus, and I don't say nothing. I just kind of sit down because I thought, I don't know what happened. So I get up, and Jerry sits right across from me. He's got his knuckles busted up and his eyes all scarred. And they tell us, they go, "You two got in a fight with each other last night in the parking lot."
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
Neither one of us remembered it.
Real. Jesus. Yeah, that what's that kind of beer they drink over there? Them big tall beers. Holy cow.
Oh, it's high octane too. Yeah, it's
yeah. So how long did you stay in Portland, and where did you go from after you left Portland?
Well, I went. I was in Portland for about 5, almost 6 years.
Wow.
And then Vince come in and took it over.
Right.
And when he took it over, Don went out of business, and me and Piper had already opened that automotive shop, and so I just worked that, and I worked, some odd shows here and there, but basically that
Wait a minute, you were partners at an automotive shop with Hot Rod?
Me and Roddy Piper, yeah.
Wow. What would you guys do? Chop shop or what?
Well, it was a transmission shop. Yeah, you know what?
He tore a lot of them up. I know that, and that old blue Cadillac he had, but I didn't know he knew how to repair them.
He didn't know jack shit about it. Whenever we opened the shop, my dad said, we decided I decided, well, I'm going to try to have something besides just being an old broken down wrestler when it's over and not have nothing. So I should open me a business. So Piper said he would front the money, but I had to pay him back and all. Anyway, it's a long story, but we had this transmission shop. We got it open, and my dad was still alive at the time. And he says, I told him I opened a transmission shop. And he goes, "You did what?" I said, "I opened a transmission shop." He goes, "Listen, why don't you just open a shop and build space shuttles? You know just as much about them son bitches as you do."
A lot of encouragement for Pops. How long did the tranny shop last?
Oh, we had
12 years. It was a tranny shop.
We had it to 12 years and sold it.
That's good.
So, Len, what did you do? If you don't know anything about transmissions, then Piper doesn't either. What'd you do? Just hire mechanics that you knew?
JBL, I thought, here's how dumb I was. I thought, well, I'm the grappler and they all know me in town. And Piper, they know him more than me. That, hell, brother, we're going to have customers just run the doors over, right? They would come in here and talk about wrestling. They wouldn't buying shit, though. Okay? They wanted to ask me about my last match I had on TV. And so then I figured out, then you hire guys, I don't know what I'm doing, and they're robbing me blind, so I had to get an education. I finally hired a guy to teach me how to build transmissions, and once it took me about 2 years. I did a lot of starving. I mean, I worked there about 2 years without taking a check. I was wrestling at night and doing that during the day. I almost had a nervous breakdown over it. It's a long story, but I finally made it. Well, I knew what I was doing. And I turned that whole shit around and started making good money at it, and ended up selling the place for a couple hundred after that and everything. But it was a work. It was hard to do, but I made it, thank God. But yeah, I was going to tell you about what was it like. You think that it's just because I'll tell you what I was going to tell you. Piper goes on, he's trying to help us get business in the transmission shop. So he talks to Vince and he gets a free commercial on Vince's show. And he Roddy Piper, brother, let me tell you something. I know about stripping gears. I've stripped a few gears in my life. And he goes, go down to Piper's pit stop. That grappler, he'll fix you up, and all this stuff, right? And he goes, if he can't fix you, he said, and he goes like this. Why he did this on him? If you can body slam the grappler, your transmission job's free. I called him up in a week. I said, I've had assholes lined up here wanting to body slam.
What year was that?
Huh?
What year was that?
We opened up in 1990.
So Piper had already done the WrestleMania and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, he'd done all that. Yeah. He was 1990. We opened up. Yeah. So what a struggle that was in life.
And now you mentioned you went over and won a title over in Japan. Did you ever take any tours over in Japan, and who were you with?
I did 3 tours in Japan for Noki.
Yeah.
I did 2 for Noki, 1 for Wings. Remember Wings?
Victor Kionis.
Yeah, 1 for them. Yeah.
Cool.
And I worked for Schobert in Germany for 6 weeks, a tournament in Germany in Hanover.
Who'd you work for in Germany?
Schobert.
Yeah, he was before me. I worked 2 years in Germany on that loop. But it was Peter William did some of the shows, then Otto Vance did some, and some they did together. So we did Hanover and Bremen.
Peter William, two rounds he gets over. Okay, asshole. I couldn't stand him. Peter, he was the guy that was a referee when I was there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and his brother was a ring announcer.
Yeah, then did you meet, Axel Peter?
I sure do. In fact, his kid is in WWE now.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, sure is. Good looking guy, good worker, great body. Cool. Yeah. But I didn't work with Axel. I just met him. Axel wasn't part of the tour when I was there. I just got to meet him when he came in. He was more Hamburg, I believe, but we weren't running Hamburg.
I got you. Yeah, I was over there. Yeah, a guy named Moose Morowski got me booked there. Moose.
I remember Moose.
Remember Moose? We were there 6 weeks. We were there 6 weeks, and I was just doing jobs or whatever. But it was a fun tournament. They went from there to Dusseldorf for a week, but then they didn't take the whole crew. And I wanted to go home. I was tired of being over there,
You're probably over there in the winter, weren't you, if you're running Hanover?
Yeah, I was in they had the, what do they call that, where they do all the drinking under the tents and all that over there?
Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest, yeah. Going on, yeah.
Well, after your transmission shop, did you stay in the business, or did you sold the transmission shop? Did you go back into the wrestling business?
Well, I did. What I did was I stayed in the transmission business for a while, a while, and then I worked shows out there sometimes if I was making a good payday, and then finally it came along to about, I don't know what year it was, but WCW was giving Vince a run for his money or whatever they're doing, and so I had a chance to go try out for WCW, and Bischoff told me that they were going to give me a 2-year contract because I went there. I go there, Jerry. I go there. Here's Jimmy Hart, Kevin Sullivan, a couple of other guys. And they go, okay, Lenny, you got a match with this guy tonight. This is your tryout match. I go tryout. I said, brother, I was working on top when y'all got in the business. What do I got to try out for? He goes, no, that's the way things are done now. I said, well, who am I trying out with? He goes, he says Eddie Guerrero. And I went, thank you, God. I know
Yeah.
I got it, right. And so me and Eddie had a hell of a match. And Bischoff told me, hey, we'll give you a 2-year contract. He said, 150 a year. You work 10 days a month. You still run your shop. I go, brother, get the paperwork drawn up. And then I don't know what happened from there to the next 2 weeks, but somebody got in his ear because he didn't want to know what to do with me. I couldn't catch him if I tried. And finally, I went to them and said, hey, look, my booking sheet on here, I booked in Portland, Maine, and I live in Portland, Oregon. Y'all run in Portland, Oregon the same night, and you booked me in Portland, Maine. I said, I gotta trust a family I'm trying to feed, so shit or get off the pot. And I never see another booking sheet. And so then from there, I went and I just kind of make shows for independents and stuff like that along the way. I never really got hooked up after that. I didn't do it full time anymore.
Well, Eric Bischoff's a good friend of ours. If you want to blame him or cuss him, that's fine with us.
I don't know it well, and I don't know what happened or if somebody who did what. I hate to say it, I don't know who's gotten it. For some reason it just all of a sudden didn't happen. So I don't know. Who knows? Who knows who did what? But maybe it wasn't meant to be.
There were so many changes going on there. You get with Eric, and then 2 weeks later he's gone. Somebody else is in. A month later they're gone. So
exactly.
There's a lot of transition going on at WCW for a while.
It's like it's probably was meant to be. I shouldn't have been there. Like who knows? But I've always enjoyed working, and like I got a thing. I don't know can I plug some stuff on here?
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I got an eBay site that I sell stuff on. You wouldn't believe the stuff they buy, Jerry. I got masks like mine on there. I got books they can buy. I wrote a book.
Tell us about your book. I know you had a very successful book. Matter of fact, I got one over my bookshelf over there I've read.
It was a guy in Portland.
Wait a minute. Jerry, you read a book?
Yeah.
Jerry,
I'm unlike you Texans that just read smoke signals.
Jerry, don't tell nobody, but I haven't even read my own book.
Well, I read it for you. I'll give you a review. It's good.
But I sell a lot of stuff on eBay. I make money doing that too. It's not too bad. And do the independent shots and just stuff like that. That's how I'm getting by now.
Hey, what's the name of the eBay so people know how to go to get to it?
It's called The Real Grappler. The Real Grappler. Just go to that site on eBay.
And what all do you sell?
I got books. That's my book. I got masks. Same size you can wear. It's like I wear that I sell. I got lots of pictures, all kinds of different things like that. And other things, items too. But mainly as far as merchandise from wrestling, on there. Different stuff I picked up along the way. So it does pretty good.
You still have your loaded boots?
I sold them. I sold them
on eBay.
I sold them to a guy in Hawaii for $4,600.
No, wow.
Best payoff ever made on them.
Had made up for that $50 fine watch game. Yeah.
Michael Hayes was apparently fined one time, and apparently he didn't do it. Whatever was Bill Watts said he did, and Bill Watts got away with it, was saying, "Well, you probably did something else," and just left the fine.
I don't doubt it at all, man. He would fine you in a minute. When nobody else was getting away with doing that, he was fining people.
What did you think about Watts? As far as a lot of people talk about how smart he was, what a creative genius he was. What did you think about him?
JB Bill was. See, I know he had a lot of pressure on him with that territories combining and all that stuff, but he was kind of a bully. He's a bully if you get away with it. But there's a lot of guys in business like that, but you get used to them. But Bill, far as smart wise and creative wise, he was excellent. I mean, he knew the business. He had a great focus for doing angles and creative wise. And it's like the territories, the way he ran it, he kept the people coming back, the way he did his TV, he just had a hell of a mind for it. You know, you can't knock the guy that way. I never do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, me and him had our arguments and our problems and the whole problem came because my dad was running towns using his TV, like I was on the TV. Bill didn't run these towns, but his TV went in there. It was on the outskirts, right? So he'd book the town when I'm off and put me on the show. Well, that's taking advantage. Bill's promoting me and pushing me, and he's basically using his TV for his town, right? And so he got pissed off at my dad. We got in an argument, but what are you gonna do? Were you gonna take the promoter or your dad? So I told Bill, kiss my ass, and that's how we had to run in because of that one time. The family comes first, you know. So, but you know, I understand his idea too. I'd say, what are you doing? I'm paying the money to promote you on TV. I'm taking all the chances, and your daddy's over stealing the time. I would have been pissed too. But you know, my dad was telling me, you better be there too. At the show, or I'll whoop your ass. And I had 300-pound Watts telling me he whooped my ass.
Len, what are you doing now? Are you still involved with the business now out in Texas, or what are you doing?
Well, I just, like I said, make independent stuff. I got a thing I'm going to. I think it's the 23rd of this month. One of those virtual showing thing where you sell stuff on eBay. On Facebook in New York. They're flying me to do that. And then on let's see, I had it written here. It's in, you know, that the 13th of the Bruce Brody Memorial. You're going to be there at that thing at the
in St. Louis, yeah. John and I'll both be up there for that.
Hey, Jerry, when is that again?
I'll be there too.
The 13th of when is it?
April. Let's see, no, it's March 3rd.
It's I'm going to that St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame up there, and John's coming up.
Jerry, I'm coming. I just got to. I can't remember what day it was. What is it?
Okay, I'll get you the dates there. I'll have Herb give you a call. You're going up for Herb Simmons, right? Dan Len, is that who you?
Yeah, for Herb, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Herb's a good guy too. Have you worked for Herb before?
Yeah, I know Herb. I've known him a long time. Yeah.
He's a good man, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And then I got there's on that WrestleCon thing. They're trying to get for Vince runs in before the WrestleMania in LA this year. I guess it's March 1st of April or something. I don't know.
Either April 2nd and 3rd is WrestleMania, or April 1st and 2nd. I can't remember. It's Saturday and Sunday out in LA.
Saying I'm supposed to be there with a table, trying to pedal, flim man, pedal my shit. Yeah.
You know what's amazing? I was sitting with Ron Simmons one time. You know, Ron and I were tag team partners for several years in WWE. And we're sitting there one day signing autographs, and he looked at me and goes, "Can you believe people actually want our autograph?" And I said, No, I can't. It's the greatest thing ever.
Here's what I was talking. You know John Nord, Berserker?
I met him. I don't know him well. I met him when I was training up in Minnesota. Yeah.
You do not know him well. He's crazy. Anyway, I talked to him this morning. Actually, he's going to be there too. You got to meet him. You're going to love him. But anyway, I said, Johnny, here's how it is today, because he hadn't done this for years. Here's how it is today. And so I'm sitting there watching a guy, and he goes, a person comes up to the table. Hey, Grappler, or they ask the guy, can I have a picture? 8x10? Yeah. How much? $20. Okay. How much to sign it? Another 20. Can I take a picture with you? Yeah, another 20. Holy shit, dude. It used to we'd sign it, take a picture, and kiss her ass for $20. Now you get $100. Hey, you know.
My first pictures that I had made up at some local studio I'd sell in between matches in Texas. We weren't making any money. I think it was like either $2 or $3 for a picture, and that was signed and everything. That was.
I know, but nowadays it's changed. Everything here's higher. Everything's going, man. It's something else. But I mean, I remember going to a Comic-Con with Piper in Toronto, and it's the big one they have every year there at Sky Dome. And I mean, they got all these famous stars there, right? And Piper's there because the sci-fi convention thing. And like, I'll see Freddy Krueger's to the left, and Sigourney Weaver's here, and all. At that time, Spock was there, and those guys, they were all still alive. they had a line around the corner at that time signing 8x10s for $100 a pop.
Wow.
I'm like, and they were telling what they paid them to come there. You know, it was unreal.
Wow. It's
Okay.
unbelievable. It's shocking how much people want to see, especially a lot of these older stars. You know, like you say with Spock, and I see William Shatner in a lot of them. He does gangbuster business everywhere.
No, he does. You notice you ever seen those kids that come on? They got like 6 belts.
Yeah.
Them things are expensive, dude. They spend that money, boy.
Yeah, they do. Well, Len, thank you so much for coming on the show. We greatly appreciate it. Have you got your eBay, anything else you want to push? We're happy to push it and whatever you want.
Appreciate it. That's good. I thank you so much for having me on the show. Jerry, I love you, brother. You know that. I ain't seen you.
Love you too, Lenny, man. It's taken us a while to get you on here, man, but it was well worth the wait, man. We appreciate your time today, and
Yes,
I
sir.
can't wait to see you in St. Louis. There,
Hey,
we'll
real
have a
quick,
good
Len.
time.
Real quick, Len. Let me tell you, Jerry, I'm sorry to cut you off. When I saw you out at the Cauliflower Alley Club in Vegas, you know, I ran into you. I said, man, I'd love to have you do our podcast. And you said, yes. I called Jerry right away, and I said, hey, Len's going to do our podcast. Jerry was so excited, just like I was. We were thrilled that you were going to come on our podcast.
Hey,
Actually, I said, that no good SOB. I've been trying to get a hold of him for 6 months, and he won't return my call.
He did say that too.
Me, hey, listen, you call me anytime I'm on there if you need me on there. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Len. Have a great one, man.